Yeah, I had to go. I had to attend to a prenup course yesterday and today from 8 to 6:30.
Wow.
It was,
Is this
oh my God,
They
that was just too much. Oh
like
my
a
God.
requirement to get married in Colombia? You have to do these classes? Or?
Yeah, you have to attend those classes and then you get a certificate and all that. It's like
Wow, no
crazy.
election in Colombia.
Yeah,
That's
Oh
kind
my
of
gosh.
good.
Anybody can get. Yeah, I know it actually is really
You know what you're getting into.
Yeah, pretty much.
fascinating. Huh.
But yeah, anyways, I'm here.
Yeah, well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah,
How's everybody else?
so
About prenups, just in case we need to know. Alejandro's an expert.
Apparently, after
right.
10 hours of study his class.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's good to see everybody. Yeah, we just kicked off TCL 3, so that was fun. I'm excited for them. They were all feeling nervous, just like I think all of you were 5 weeks ago. So.
Yeah, first week is kind of tough, and then
Yeah,
it goes smoothly. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So this week we have
Oh wait.
like.
Well, we're gonna do demos first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
we should have coordinated better, but yeah, we're gonna. Alejandro has prepared a little bit of a learning module for us, but we'll do the demos first, kind of see the work from this week. So, who wants to start? Tell us what your problem you were trying to solve. Show us the UI. Look at the code. Tell us anything you learned.
All of those things.
Michelle, you want to go?
Sure. So sorry, I was just trying to, did the branches get merged into master?
Yeah.
So I was just trying to go on there and like add an item, and a list wasn't showing up. So I'm gonna demo on localhost if that's okay.
Yeah, it's not that the list isn't showing up, it's that for some reason the items are coming up super opaque or transparent.
Okay.
So they're there, but you can't really see them.
Okay. So I'm gonna to demo on localhost if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I should probably actually share my screen so you guys can see that part. I can't wait to see
be
it.
helpful.
Okay.
That's my Christmas tree.
Mindy's Christmas tree. I wasn't expecting that, Mindy. That made me laugh so hard.
We went and got another one, and it looks much better.
Okay, so our AC was to I'm gonna read it so I don't get it wrong. When a purchase is recorded, a new estimated next purchase date should be calculated and recorded in the database. So for ours, I think this is still like the button that was that we created, right, Mindy?
Yeah.
Since this isn't the master, yeah. I think I'm on our branch. But anyways, so we have a purchase button that will obviously look different when you guys see Claudia and Ethan's. And when you click it, oh, hold on. Let me click on Apple. Okay. So when we click on, looks like I purchased a few of these. Purchase. It's not working.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Delayed.
Yeah. So Mindy will show you the code, but it updates our date of purchase, the number of days that will be like the estimated next date that you need to purchase it, and then the number of purchases. All from this one little button click.
How about that? That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So good. Cool.
Cool. And I can share. Let's see here. So we made big changes to a couple different, well, not big changes, I guess. We made changes to a couple different files. So we have fetch items is kind of the bigger piece of it. That's where we did most of our code. A lot of, oh, here we go. When we actually clicked the submit button, we handled the purchase there. We did a few different things. We referenced Firestore and got to the doc. And then we had basically two function calls here. one to a outside function called calculate new purchase values, which I'll show in just a second. And then the data would flow down to this update database function that we'd call here, which actually went into the database and made the change. So all of the calculations are done in a separate file. We had so this was just the estimate.js that was from Andrew. I decided to put them in here together because of being able to test. I need to be able to use the calculate new purchase values. And from what I heard or read, that it wasn't a good idea to have to be able to use a function outside of the component. It needed to be outside of the component.
Okay.
And not within the component that was being used. But maybe I was just, I don't know. That was a thing I read. So
that's fine.
So yeah, so what comes in here is basically a JavaScript object, and we go in and do some calculations on it, including calling this calculate estimate function, and then we return the updated values. So yeah, so that's what goes in there as an object. To do the test, I came up with just some test data, like this is what it could look like coming from Firebase, and then I ran that through the this calculate new purchase values function, and we compared what came out of that to what we kind of expected to come out of that. Based off of our test data in particular. So that way it was always the same test data, always the same expected result coming out.
Cool. So you're setting the dates. I see what you're doing. Okay, so you have November 1st and November 30th as the dates. So you have like 29 days or something, and those are the dates that are being used to kind of make the adjusted number. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right.
Michelle,
yeah, can you go back to the fetch items code? Like to kind of just like talk about things as in what was difficult and what we learned. I think for Mindy and I, we were able to see the object coming back from Firebase, but it took us a very long time to figure out how to actually have access to it. And I'm curious to know if that was something that last year's cohort had something that got stuck on as well. Because I know Stacey, you just said this was a tough one for you guys as well, but like the week was, but for us, that was like really tricky for us.
So what was the challenge? You knew stuff was getting sent to Firebase, but you couldn't pull it back?
No, we, well, yes, but we had access to it coming, or we could see it coming. How can I describe this, Mindy?
So it would come back from, like, we'd pull data from the database, and then we'd try to use it in a different function. And it would always show up as undefined. Like we couldn't get the data to come out of the function.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think we struggled with that. Mostly ours was like figuring out how the calculations should work. What
Okay.
coming up with.
Now I'm really curious to see what your code looked like from the last cohort.
Yeah, the actual API, like if you're trying to interact with these objects that come back from Firebase directly, the APIs are really complicated. And, they're named weird things. You have to use access methods, all these kind of things. So, when I built this, whatever it was, like a year ago or whatever, I had the same, like a similar struggle, I think, to what you're describing.
Yeah.
Just took some getting used to, like kind of getting to know their docs and kind of understanding what they mean by certain things.
Yeah. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the library day.js because it saved us from having to calculate time. So that was very handy.
Yeah.
That was a good call. Yeah.
This was glorious. I don't want to deal with milliseconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. I'm done making comments.
Nice, thanks so much. Yeah, really good. All right.
Alejandro.
You ready for us to go?
Oh, one more pair.
Yeah, one more pair.
We all need Alejandro to go.
I know, we're also eager.
My computer keeps freezing up, so I'm going to try to make this brief, so hopefully I don't freeze up halfway through it and don't know.
I could share.
That's fine. I can try and just get through the AC and show how it works. Our AC for this week was that the Yeah. Am I frozen up now?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Mm.
Oh, okay. We can see it now. Your looking
Okay.
page.
Yeah. Okay, so AC, users able to tap a checkbox or similar user interface element to mark an item in the list as purchased. In this case, we went with just turning the actual item into a link, into a button itself, so you can click on it and see a cross through that makes it look like, it's already been purchased. I can show you what that looks like. And the item should be shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made, i.e. we assume the user does not need to buy the item again for at least 1 day. So to take a look at what that actually looks like, if we were to add an item in, call food 3 and add that item in and go back to our list, then you can see that it is crossed through, which means that it's already something that's purchased. And then after 24 hours, the style would change, and Claudia can show you how we went about changing the style.
I wanted to just confirm really quick that is, we've had so many questions about exactly what we're supposed to do. And so the way that we had it before we merged with Mindy and Michelle's branch is that when you add an item, it shows up as not purchased yet, and then the user clicks on it and then it gets purchased. But then going off of what Mindy's feedback, she was saying that in the other app, the existing app, that everything is crossed off like as soon as you enter it. So I was wondering which one's right.
Well, it is a bit subjective. It's kind of a user experience question. So the way when I built it for myself, what I wanted to be able to do is kind of add an item and have that be the first purchase. Like I'd be in the store and I would like, oh, I'm buying macaroni or whatever it is, and I'd enter it, and that's like the first time I purchased it was that day. So that's, I think what you have here, it matches that. I could also see like the problem that I found with the app actually in practice was it was really hard to make a list in advance of things you wanted to like go to the store and buy later. Like it was much better like you would add things as you were like kind of in the process of, or like right when you got home you would add them all or something. So anyway, I think this is fine in as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, cool.
But you could make an argument for the other way too.
I would make the argument the other way.
Yeah, more of a planning thing. Yeah.
Did the thing. Amazing job.
I know, so good.
You did so good. It's fascinating to watch you all work together. So good.
Yeah.
Great work.
What's going on with production though, Claudia? What did you see?
I can show really quick.
I'd like to get an idea of how much scope there is there. So yeah.
I actually think we have a couple different issues with our brand or master even just right now. So
okay.
Yeah. So on here, this is the production one, and so if you add something, first of all, these days buttons aren't showing up. They are very transparent, so they're there.
Okay. Right.
And so you add something, and then I have to move your faces so I can go to the list. And so then it's the items there. You can, even if you hover over, you can see that the cursor changes, but you can't see it because it's so transparent. And Mindy did bring up, like in the CSS code, some of the opacity values were percentages instead of decimals. So actually I went through and changed those to decimals and just pushed it to master. And it hasn't updated, but I know that the Netlify can be a little bit delayed, is what I've noticed.
Like inspect this and make changes to the styling like here.
Oh, right.
Any difference?
Could do that.
Just to make sure that's like changing the opacity would make.
So yeah, it says opacity is 1%, which it shouldn't be.
I think since it's not like highlighted there, I think since it's kind of opaque, I think that means that it's not being computed, right?
Right.
Sorry.
Like I think
that's not being applied. You mean?
Yeah. If you go in your I can't quite see because our faces are in the way, but there should be a tab that says computed, like on styles or somewhere. Alejandro, do you know which tab that is?
Yeah, I'm looking. Let's see.
That.
Where is it? Give me a sec.
I had trouble finding it in Chrome today too. Did they change the
Yeah.
developer tools?
Maybe. I thought that it was one of these tabs like style, event listeners, properties. Click properties. Click see
No,
properties.
that's
No.
yeah, I did that too.
No.
Where the heck is it? Anyway, I would putz around there and see if you can get those to appear, just like manipulating them there. And that'll give you more direction about what you could apply to your actual code to fix this.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, it's just weird because it looks totally normal on localhost.
What about when you test this in another browser? Does that make any difference?
I can try. I never used other browsers, so.
And it doesn't seem like something that's going to be fixed by deleting the token and starting over. So.
Yeah, and I've done that before.
There's elements definitely there, so it's definitely some kind of styling thing. I would guess. I should use definitely less, probably.
Okay, so they're coming up on Microsoft Edge.
Maybe that's worth Googling.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, was the back button really different? It looked like it was yellow. Do you want to go back to add? Yeah.
It is yellow, and also my opacity isn't coming up because when you cross off an item, it has some sort of opacity, so it looks a little bit transparent.
Well, the back button's definitely going to be different because you're just using like a Unicode character instead of an actual icon, image icon. So that makes sense. But I'm not sure about the opacity thing.
What are we using the opacity for? Could we just take that rule out?
Yeah, that's fine. I just thought it, because you're crossing it off, that I don't know.
Yeah,
it
that's
was
fine.
a personal thing.
Okay. I did see. I looked at Netlify, and your latest commit did go through. So I'm not sure why it's still not working. But when I inspected just now, it did say 1% and not just 1.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
And we also are having some issues with like delete token and joining a list. Like redirects aren't working as they're supposed to. So that's something else we kind of need to address at some point, whether that's now or tomorrow or something.
GitHub issue about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Delete token works if there's no items in the list, but if there's any items in the list, then it throws a similar Firebase error that keeps getting thrown.
It just worked just now, and we had a couple items. Try again. Okay, now it's not working.
All right. Well, we can fix it. Sounds like we kind of understand the problem, so we can fix it pretty quickly after.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I can talk
Good job,
about
everybody.
Oh, do you want me to go over the code really quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Great.
Okay, so the key was figuring out that what we needed to do was run a function in class name. So once I figured that out, it was pretty simple from there. But yeah, that was challenging to like wrap my brain around. Like, we need a function call right there.
That's a cool way to do it. You wouldn't have to do it that way. You could at the start at the top of the render method, you could calculate, or somewhere inside there, you could calculate it and just set the class name as a string or something. But that does work, and that's actually kind of a nice example of how JavaScript works, and it's kind of really flexible and expressive. You can actually just make the call, and the value gets kind of replaced right there.
Yeah, that's cool. So the calculative purchased function, it grabs the date of purchase value from the database. And when you fetch items from the database, they come in this timestamp format. That's different than the way that you like send them to the database. So you have to convert it back to date with the to-date function. And then I just have like an if-else statement that calculates whether now, so today, which is get date, which is a get date function that's at the top of our code here. If today, the difference between today and date of purchase is less than 24 hours, then you return purchased item, which is basically that crossed off look. Otherwise, non-purchased. And that's pretty much it. So simple code, but it was kind of tough to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
Cool. Yeah. Once again, well done. Anything else? Anybody have any questions about anything they saw or anything like that? All right. Now, Alejandro, now we can do the accessibility.
All right. All right. So can you stop sharing, Claudia, please?
Oh, yes.
So I can share my screen. Thank you very much. All right. So before I share my screen, I want to tell you, like, I'm not an expert on accessibility, like, but it's really fun. It's something that is really fun to do. So I encourage you to do it. And today I'm going to show you like some tools that you can use to do an accessibility audit and why it is important, right? So the first thing is accessibility. I see it as it is about empathy, right? So, I mean, all of us can see like perfectly like the app that we're working on, but some people, they just can't. Or, I mean, some people have to browse the web using like their eyes or something, you know, like special devices. And some people may don't have fingers. Maybe they have like, I don't know, 3 fingers or something. Some people are colorblind. So some people are completely blind. So they use other devices, right? And I personally don't know anyone that has a disability like that, like so like big, you know? But maybe you do. So the thing is, imagine, like I told this to Stacy on Friday, but imagine like someone in a wheelchair. Am I hearing myself? No? Anyways, I was hearing echo. So anyways, so imagine you are on a wheelchair because you had an accident and you want to cross from one street to the other on the crosswalk, right? But there is a car in there. So like you cannot cross because the car is there and you just don't fit, right? Or for example, there is like, there is supposed to be a ramp, but there is no ramp. So you have to go maybe to the next block and try to cross there. And that is like 1 block, and then you have to go back. That is like 2 blocks, you know, and traffic lights and all that. And it is painful. So the idea is that we need to make our apps easy to use to other people, right? That are not like, they are not like us. They have limitations. So it is about empathy. And you fix that by being really meticulous. Like it's like seeing like the details, the small things. All right, so that's it. Let me share my screen. Let's see. Let's share the whole thing. All right, so I use a Mac, and Mac computers, they have a software that is called Voiceover. And Voiceover is like the screen reader software that the Mac has on it, like by default. So I didn't have to install anything. I know in Windows there are more options, but I don't know what options do you have. Do you know, Andrew?
NVDA and JAWS are 2 screen readers on Windows.
Yeah, JAWS. That. So I don't have experience with that, but I bet it would be the same, right? So I'm going to show you like, the last thing that I'm going to show you is VoiceOver. But first I'm going to show you like the browser tools that are built in, okay? So let's see, on the top left, no, it's like center left, just say this, okay? Like the main one, the big one, because I have like the app open in 3 places. So this browser is Brave, right? Oh my gosh. Oh no, I don't want to show you Brave. Oh no, yeah. Never mind. So for example, one tool that is really useful is called Axe, like this one, like the deodorant, right? So Axe is free. If you want, you can pay for it. Like I think it gives you more like tools, but the free version is super good. Okay. So what we're going to do is you open your developer tools, and you go to the Axe tab, and then you click Analyze, right? And then you click Analyze, and it will run like an audit, and it will tell you what did it found. Okay. So for example, it says that the ID attribute must be unique. And it seems that we are replicating the same ID for these three things, because I know that there are only, like, the list item appears only here, right? Like this is a really simple page. So still, it shows me like, oh, the class apples, right? For example, inspect, it takes me to the DOM tree, right? And if I see this, like, oh, well, it says that there are three IDs. The IDs are the same. Oh, yeah, maybe here. Huh. Oh, yeah. So, for example, you have an ID for the list item that says apples. Let me make this bigger. That's better. Yeah. So it says apples, but the div inside of it says apples also. So it is a rule that you cannot have two IDs with the same value, right? So you have apples and apples, carrots and carrots, and strawberries and strawberries. Okay, so that is one issue. If we go back,
and how that relates to accessibility is that screen readers will sometimes use the IDs as a way to kind of keep track of elements and stuff. So if it has the same ID in two places, the screen reader could get confused.
Yeah. Thank you for that. All right, so we have the duplicated ID in three places, right? The document must have one main landmark, and landmarks are like big sections. You know, like the screen reader that a blind user is going to use, it will read like, these are sections, like section, or this is the footer, this is the header. And it is really important that we have a main like tag that wraps the application, so it knows like what is the main content. Okay. So ideally, I would say that everything that is like, we don't have a navigation or a footer. So I guess that everything could be wrapped on a main tag. So it would be something like main, right? Like this. And all the content should be inside of it, right? So that is an easy fix. Also, for example, let's see. Page must contain a level 1 heading. Let's see. What's this? I bet we have more than one H1. Interesting. What? H2? I don't know what is this thing. Why are you complaining with the thing? This one. Oh, yeah. We don't have an H1 element. Yeah, that's the issue. So we have the styles here, but we don't have a tag that says H1. And an H1 is what the screen reader uses to say like, oh, this is like the list items. For example, here, items, in my opinion, should be an H1. And when you're using H tags, you don't have to think about H1s in terms of sizes, because you could have an H1 that is a 12 pixel font size, but is an H1 underneath. And you could have an H6 that is 72 pixels of like font size, you know, like it is huge. But like the computer reads like the HTML and it says like, oh, the H1 says items. So this is like the title of the page, okay? So you need to use an H1 here to fix this warning. And the next one, all page content must be contained by landmarks. All right, so as you can see, like the landmarks are what I said, like the wrapping like sections of the page, okay? So if we go to elements, we'll see that we have a div. And a div is like a box, but it doesn't have any semantic meaning. So it is wrapper, but it doesn't say anything, right? So for example, you can see like we have the div, then we have another div, and then we have an h2, and then we have an ul, that is items, and that's it. And then we have a nav bar that is down below. So we could fix this. For example, this nav bar, we could fix it if we do nav. And yeah, this is semantic now. A div and a nav, they are like the same. They behave the same. They're block elements, but they mean something completely different to a screen reader, right? You don't see it when you like develop, when you are using it, like, because we don't need to scan the page using a different tool, right? So we just need to change it to nav. For example, this should be an H1, and I bet that this should be a main tag, right? So this is a main tag. This could be, I don't know if this, I don't know what this should be. I don't remember. So this could be an H1, right? And I think that would fix things. But this is not going to, if I run Axe again, I think it will break. I mean, it will still read the like the original page, okay? So that is about Axe. Also, Axe is really cool because, for example, if let's say must contain a level 1 heading, if you click the Learn More button on the right, it will open like tips to fix it. Like, I mean, fixing accessibility issues is pretty easy. I mean, most of the time. Or at least it gives you like a lot of clues on how to fix what you have wrong. Okay, so oops. Yep. It says like, oh, you should use an H1. The severity is here. Okay, so this affects blind people, low vision people, people that are deaf and blind. Yeah, like this is a really, if you see this, like if just by missing the H1, you're affecting all these people, and that sucks. All right, so yeah. Also, like, accessibility is something that you should do, and yeah, you should do like from the get-go, in my opinion. Like when you create a feature, you should try to address accessibility like right away, instead of shipping the product and then go back and fix it. Because when you ship it, it's like I mean, it could take you like a month to ship, to fix it. And that month, it will be broken for a lot of people. And so that is no good. Okay.
We have
So, all right.
10 minutes left. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about
I
that.
want to make sure that they have time for questions too. So.
Yeah. Okay. So one more. Okay. This is super quick. So if you open Chrome and you go to the audits pane, right? You can run like an automatic audit, and that uses Lighthouse, which is a tool created by Google. And for this demo, we're going to use just accessibility, and we're not going to like throttle the network because we don't care about that right now. And if we run the audit, it would tell us, let's see, that our page is great. Give it a second. Yeah, like 98 out of 100 of accessibility. So if you compare this with Axe, it is kind of a lie, right? Because, I mean, it doesn't say like, oh, you're not using H1s. So what I would suggest is combine accessibility, like combine Lighthouse, combine Axe, and combine other tools to get a good accessibility score or improve things. Just don't rely on one tool because, yeah, you will miss a lot of things. And yeah, we have like 10 minutes, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, Lighthouse actually uses Axe under the hood, so but it uses a subset of the rules. So that's why you might not see all the same warnings. What were you gonna say, Stacy?
I made Alejandro walk me through all of this week, so it's all very fresh for me. But it's like, if you haven't used a screen reader, go use one. There were tons of things that like Alejandro was showing me that don't get caught by acts that you only can find if you're using a screen reader and like listening to it and like feeling out these problems on your own, and it'll fill you with so much more empathy. So go use a screen reader. Required assignment, very helpful for the life.
And on the Mac, yeah, VoiceOver is included on the Mac, and NVDA is free on Windows. So JAWS costs a bunch of money, but you could always install NVDA and experience like that.
Early on too, like, and this is something you'll hear from everybody. I think I heard Alejandro say it several times this week. Try to just not use divs. Like, just try to not use them ever. It's kind of like, if you think about it, everything's like a container, and it's like, if you got all these divs, they're just a bunch of white, like, Rubbermaids. There's just a bunch of Rubbermaids everywhere. Who knows what's going on? It could be anything. It could be nothing. You have like a soup bowl and a garbage can and a bathtub. It's like, you know exactly what's going to go into those containers. It's very clear. Anybody's going to know. And it's very specific. So it's like, be specific. Put your things in the containers they belong in.
That's a blog post, Stacy. You should write that down. That's your next blog
I
post.
agree.
That's a great little analogy. I love it.
All right, I'll put that analogy down. Anyway,
Yeah, you can use divs, but
stop right there.
yeah, I mean, you can use divs. I mean, they have a reason to exist, but try not to use them like as your first choice. Yeah.
And part of why, like the say like the details element or something has a bunch of information built into it that the browser understands and can like feed to the screen reader, so it knows, it can give the user a lot more context. A div doesn't have any of that. You can often add that to it using what's called ARIA labels, but you're probably not going to be as thorough as the people who built the HTML spec, right? So you're likely to miss something, or it's going to be non-standard behavior or something. So wherever you can, lean on the built-in elements.
People will use the divs a lot, like when they're trying to style things and they're like, I really need this to be by itself, so I'm going to wrap it in a div. And in that case, and you've done it in this project already, just use fragments. And you can even make them really nice, just completely empty little carrots. Just an empty little carrot. So cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions about this kind of accessibility stuff in general, or how has it gone for you so far? So it's technically, as one of the AC is every week we kind of do a little accessibility review, but that's something y'all been doing or not, or have you not known how to do it? Or
I've been using the Chrome add-on, and nothing pops up when we do it. So that's where I'm like, oh, it's fine.
Okay.
That's what I've been. Yeah, I've been using whatever you put on the
accessibility insights.
That document, that document that you gave us at the beginning. Yeah.
I've used the VoiceOver thing, and I'd be very interested to see. It was really hard for me to get used to, but I would be really interested to like go use it on our site to see how it works.
Yeah. I wonder if I could. There's a company that does manual accessibility testing, and they have people who use this stuff every day, like use screeners every day, and they do a review of your work. Alejandro has been in on one of those calls where we were there with the screen reader user, and he's actually trying to use the page, and we're like, oh no, he can't even get to that element, like, so that kind of stuff.
Really
so
sad.
Yeah, it's just it's so impactful, and I'm just I'm like thinking whether or not I could like pull some of that video over and show y'all part of that session, because it just opens your eyes to like, I mean, it's so hard to use the web if you have to use a screen reader and a keyboard only. Like, that was part of the problem. We couldn't tab to the element because it just didn't have the right semantics and stuff. And so anyway, it's included in the project because it's something as a professional developer you should be aware of and starting to try and learn about over time, so you can help make the web accessible to everybody.
I like this idea as a topic. Good choice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alejandro.
Sure. I will try to record something over the week and like a short video and send you the video, and you can see how it is VoiceOver and how bad it is sometimes for people that have to use it like every day. It's sad. It is sad. Yeah.
Well, I think they get used to it. You know, like they'll like this. The guy that we talked to, he was flying around the page. And I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't. He's like, he'll just hear like the first couple of words and he's on to the next thing. And you're like, how did you even know what that was? Like, you know.
Yeah.
I think for
it's
us,
crazy.
we're just so used to having all the senses that we don't even think about not having one. So for him, he's just like, I don't know, this is just how I'm doing it. Like, this is the only way the brain computes it, which is amazing.
We totally like scan across navigation bar because we know exactly where the logout button is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my grandma has macular degeneration, so she has a lot of her eyesight's gone. And trying to use voiceover things is a really hard transition for her, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's so like listening to every single little option is annoying. So it's definitely there's a huge learning curve there.
For sure.
Especially when if it's someone that's like that's just now happening to her versus having it her whole life. Like
For sure.
I can't.
But that's a great point. Like as we get older, like my eyesight's not what it used to be. Or you can also have temporary disability. Like say you're right-handed and you break your right wrist or something, and now you're like kind of you have motor impairments. You know what I mean? Like it's probably going to happen to almost all of us at some point that we'll have to use the web in some kind of non-standard way or something. So yeah, I mean it's just we all have a role to play, I guess, in making it better for everybody. So.
Hey, Stacy, I teach high school kids like intro to web development twice a week, and like they've never touched code before. And we just introduced divs this week, and they're like, "What's the point of these?"
Nice.
That way.
Go back to them like it's Tupperware. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm glad you liked it.
Cool. Thanks everybody. I'll let you go. I'll be online. I'll be just kind of watching some football here. So if there's a PR or a fix for that opacity thing, if you want to set of eyes on it and have to look at it. But great job again, of course, as always. So proud of all of you and all the work you're putting in and everything. So, yeah.
Great work, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.